Stop me if this sounds familiar. You walk into a coffee shop. You order that vanilla latte or that cold brew you actually like. You tap your card, and immediately, in the back of your mind, a tiny voice whispers, "You shouldn't have bought that." We have been brainwashed. For decades, the financial experts on TV and in magazines have told you that the reason you aren't rich is because you buy coffee. They tell you that if you just cut out that $5 toast, or stopped buying jeans, or made your own laundry detergent, you'd be a millionaire. Here is the crazy part. It's a lie. It is a mathematical lie designed to make you feel guilty, small, and paralyzed. Most of us treat money like a diet. We try to starve ourselves. We try to cut back on absolutely everything. We say no to the coffee, no to the Uber, no to the appetizers. We rely on willpower. And just like a crash diet, eventually our willpower breaks. We binge. We blow $500 on a weekend trip we can't afford because we felt deprived. And then we spiral back into shame. It's a broken cycle. It's why you have a budget spreadsheet on your computer right now that you haven't opened in 6 months. You are afraid to look at it. But what if I told you that the secret to being rich isn't about restriction? What if the secret was actually spending more on the things you love, as long as you brutally cut costs on the things you don't? Today, we are analyzing I Will Teach You to Be Rich by Ramit Sethi. This isn't your grandma's financial advice. This is the book that tells you it's okay to buy the latte. In fact, Ramit might tell you to buy two, provided you have the right system in place. We are going to dismantle the scarcity mindset that keeps you poor, and we are going to replace it with an automated machine that builds wealth while you sleep. No spreadsheets required. The core concepts. Big idea number 1. The conscious spending plan. Kill the budget. Let's get one thing straight immediately. Budgets are useless. I know, that sounds aggressive. But think about it. A budget looks backward. It's a forensic analysis of where you screwed up last month. It tells you, hey, you spent too much on tacos. Great. Thanks. That doesn't help you now. Ramit proposes something different. The conscious spending plan. This is the cornerstone of the entire book. Most people look at their money and ask, how can I spend less? Ramit wants you to ask, what is my rich life? I want you to imagine your rich life right now. Close your eyes for a second. For some of you, a rich life means traveling to Japan for 3 weeks every year without looking at the price of the flight. For someone else, it means buying a $200 pair of shoes every month because you love fashion. For me, it might just be buying the expensive appetizers at a restaurant without feeling a pit in my stomach. A rich life is unique to you. And here is where the math comes in. Ramit introduces the concept of money dials. Think of your spending categories like dials on a soundboard. You have dials for travel, food, rent, clothes, tech, and so on. Most of us try to keep every single dial set to 5. We try to be average at everything. We want a decent car, a decent apartment, decent clothes, decent food. The result? Our life feels average, and we run out of money. The conscious spending approach says, pick 1 or 2 dials and turn them all the way up to 10. If you love travel, turn that dial to 10. Spend extravagantly on it. And here is the catch. To fund that, you have to turn the other dials down to 1. If you love travel, maybe you drive a 10-year-old Honda. If you love expensive clothes, maybe you live in a smaller apartment or meal prep your lunches. This is liberation. When you cut costs mercilessly on the things you don't care about, you free up cash to spend extravagantly on the things you do. I have a friend who applies this perfectly. He drives a beat-up truck. It's ugly. It has a dent in the side. But he eats at Michelin star restaurants 3 times a month. If you looked at his car, you'd think he was broke. If you saw him at dinner, you'd think he was a millionaire. That is his rich life. He doesn't care about cars. He loves food. Now, I have to offer a bit of a nuance here. Ramit wrote this book originally a while ago, and even in the updated version, there's an assumption that you have something to cut. In today's economy, with inflation hitting housing and groceries hard, turning down the dials is harder than it used to be. Sometimes your rent dial is stuck at a 7, even if you want it at a 1. But the principle remains: intentionality. Stop bleeding money on things that don't make you happy just because society says you should have them. Do you really need 5 streaming services? Do you really need a new iPhone every 2 years? If those things aren't your rich life, cut them ruthlessly. Big idea number 2. The myth of willpower. Automate everything. Okay, so you know what you want to spend money on. Now, how do we actually save? Most people rely on discipline. They get their paycheck, they pay their bills, they spend some money, and then they tell themselves, I will save whatever is left over at the end of the month. Let's be honest, is there ever anything left over? No, because Parkinson's law kicks in. Work expands to fill the time available, and spending expands to fill the money available. If the money is in your checking account, you will spend it. Ramit's solution is to remove the human element entirely. He wants you to build an automated money machine. Here is the flowchart he suggests. It's simple, but it's powerful. Imagine your paycheck hits your account on the 1st of the month. By the 2nd of the month, a computer system, not you, should have already moved that money where it needs to go. 1. Retirement. A percentage goes straight to your 401k or IRA. 2. Savings. A percentage goes to a high-yield savings account for your emergency fund or that trip to Japan. 3. Fixed costs. The money for rent and bills stays in the checking account. 4. Guilt-free spending. Whatever is left, that is yours. This changes the psychology of spending. When you automate your savings first, what we call paying yourself first, you never see that money. You don't miss what you don't see. Then, when you look at your checking account and see $400 left, you don't have to feel guilty about spending. You know your retirement is funded. You know your bills are paid. You can blow that $400 on the stupidest thing imaginable, and you are still financially responsible. This is how you delete the guilt. I want you to think about the most reliable systems in your life. Your heart beats automatically. Your breathing is automatic. If you had to consciously remind yourself to beat your heart every second, you'd die within a minute. Yet we try to manually manage our financial heartbeat every single month. Stop trusting your future self. Your future self is tired, lazy, and emotional. Trust the system. The anti-AI reality check. Ramit pushes hard for automation, and he's right. But here is one risk he doesn't dwell on enough: subscription creep. When everything is automated, it's very easy to forget you're paying for things. Automation is great for saving, but you still need to audit your spending automation every few months. Don't let set it and forget it turn into ignore it and go broke. Big idea number 3. The big wins. Don't cut coupons, negotiate. We talked about the latte earlier. The latte is a small win. Saving $3 on coffee is a small win. Even if you save $3 every day for a year, that's about $1,000. That's nice, but it won't change your life. Ramit focuses on the big wins. In finance, the 80-20th rule applies. 80% of your financial success comes from 20% of your decisions. There are really only a few big wins in life. 1. How much you pay for your house or rent. 2. How much you pay for your car. 3. How much debt you have. 4. How much you earn. Let's talk about earning. This is the elephant in the room. Most personal finance advice focuses on cutting expenses, defense. Very few focus on increasing income, offense. There is a floor to how much you can cut. You can't cut your spending to zero. You have to eat. But there is no ceiling to how much you can earn. One of the best chapters in the book is about negotiation. Ramit gives actual scripts, word for word, on how to negotiate your salary, your bank fees, and even your credit card interest rates. Let's play out a scenario. You walk into your boss's office. Most people say, "I've been here 2 years. I think I deserve a raise due to inflation." Your boss hears, "I want more money for doing the same work." The answer will be no. Ramit's script flips the script. You go in 3 months before your review. You say, "I want to be a top performer. What specific metrics do I need to hit in the next 6 months to warrant a $10,000 raise?" Now you have a contract. You have a target. When you hit those numbers, the raise isn't a request. It's a transaction. If you negotiate a $5,000 raise once, that isn't just $5,000. That is $5,000 every single year for the rest of your career, compounding with every future raise. That one 15-minute conversation is worth hundreds of thousands of dollars over your lifetime. That is a big win. That is worth 50,000 lattes. However, I need to be real with you for a second. In the current job market, depending on your industry, negotiation has become tougher. Companies are tightening belts. If you can't get the raise at your current job, the big win might be leaving. The biggest salary jumps usually happen when you switch companies, not when you stay loyal. Ramit mentions this, but I want to double underline it. Loyalty is expensive. Big idea number 4. Investing is boring. The ladder of personal finance. Finally, let's talk about where your money grows. Investing. When you hear investing, what do you see? Guys on Wall Street in suits yelling into phones? Charts with squiggly lines? Crypto brothers promising you'll get rich overnight? Ramit's take on investing is gloriously, wonderfully boring. He advocates for a specific hierarchy, which he calls the ladder of personal finance. Rung 1, the 401k match. If your employer offers a match, take it. It is literally free money. It is a 100% return on investment immediately. If you don't take this, you are effectively taking a pay cut. Rung 2, high interest debt. If you have credit card debt at 20% interest, paying that off is the best investment you can make. The market might give you 8%. Paying off debt gives you a guaranteed 20%. Rung 3, the Roth IRA. This is the holy grail for most Americans. You put money in, it grows tax-free, and you pull it out tax-free in retirement. Rung 4, everything else. But what do you buy? Ramit hates individual stocks. He hates the idea of you trying to pick the next Apple or Tesla. Why? Because you are not a hedge fund manager. You don't have the data, the time, or the emotional control. Instead, he recommends target date funds or low-cost index funds. Target date fund is the ultimate lazy investment. If you plan to retire in 2055, you buy the Target Retirement 2055 fund. That's it. The fund automatically adjusts how risky it is as you get older. When you're young, it buys stocks for growth. When you're old, it buys bonds for safety. You don't have to read the news. You don't have to check the stock market. You just keep buying. This aligns with the philosophy of the whole book. Be boring with your money so you can be exciting with your life. Now, here is a controversial point where I disagree slightly with the book. Ramit is a huge fan of target date funds. And for 90% of people, they are perfect. But they do often carry slightly higher fees than pure index funds, like an S&P 500 fund, and they can be a bit conservative for young people who have a high risk tolerance. If you are a total beginner, do the target date fund. If you are a bit of a nerd like me, you might want to build your own portfolio of index funds to save that 1% in fees. But honestly, the difference is marginal compared to the action of just starting. The biggest enemy of investing isn't fees or market crashes. It's waiting. Waiting for the right time to buy. Waiting until you know more. Every day you wait is money your 60-year-old self wishes you had invested. The bridge. We've covered a lot: automation, conscious spending, negotiation. It sounds great on paper, right? But I know what some of you are thinking. This makes sense logically, but I just can't get myself to do it. I have mental blocks around money. I feel anxiety just logging into my bank app. That is normal. Money is rarely a math problem. It's an emotional problem. We carry scripts from our parents, our childhoods, and our failures. If you find that the tactics are easy, but the mindset is hard, if you find yourself self-sabotaging, every time you get a little bit of money. I actually wrote my own audiobook series, specifically on the psychology of wealth and breaking those mental barriers. It dives deeper into the why behind our spending habits, not just the how. I've linked it in the description below. It's designed to be the companion to the practical stuff we're talking about today. But whether you check that out or not, let's bring this home with a concrete plan you can execute today. Last words and action plan. We need to land this plane. I will teach you to be rich is not about getting rich next week. It is about getting rich slowly, boringly, and inevitably. It's about building a system that protects you from your own worst impulses. It tells you to stop feeling guilty about the latte. Buy the latte. Enjoy the latte. But make sure your rent is negotiated, your credit card debt is dead, and your savings are automated. Don't try to change your entire financial life in one day. You will fail. Instead, I want you to do 3 specific things. Not tomorrow, today. Action step 1. The Rich Life Audit. Take 10 minutes. Sit down with a blank piece of paper. Write down the one thing you spend money on that gives you the most joy. Is it food? Travel? Video games? Now, write down one thing you spend money on that you hate paying for or don't care about. Make a pact with yourself right now. Cut the hate spending by 10% this month and allocate that money to the joy spending. Action step 2. The call. Call your credit card company. If you have an annual fee or a high interest rate, call them. Use this script. Hi, I've been a customer for X years. I'm looking at other cards with lower rates, no fees. What can you do to keep me as a customer? It works more often than you think. If they say no, hang up and call again to get a different rep. That 10-minute call could save you hundreds of dollars this year. Action step 3. Set one auto transfer. Log into your bank. Set up an automatic transfer of $50 or even $20 to a savings account to happen the day after your next paycheck. Just $20. Prove to yourself that the system works. Once you see that you don't miss that $20, you can bump it up to $50 then. $100. Money shouldn't be stressful. It should be a tool that lets you live the life you want. Stop letting the experts make you feel guilty for existing. Build your machine. Buy your latte and get rich. If you enjoyed this analysis, hit that like button. It helps the algorithm more than you know. And subscribe for more deep dives into the books that actually change lives. I'll see you in the next one.